Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Gwent. My name is Rooster, and it's time to pass some turn ones. In case you haven't kept up with the current Gwent meta, there's a lot of Northern Realms and Skellige on the ladder, especially at the higher ranks, and one player named Kmel, whatever you want to call it, has been wrecking those people with a Skellige deck and a rather unusual tactic, and we're going to see whether that still applies to us at the 1500s. So I'm anxious to try that out. The main feature of this deck here is Ocvist, who is the centerpiece, and the general idea is to pass turn one really early. So either right away or after playing one or two spies, just to gain a little bit of card advantage on your opponent. And in general, Northern Realms decks as well as Skellige decks like to use the early turns to thin their deck, to get to the important cards in their deck, and to make the game run smoother for them, to draw all of their gold cards, all of their silver cards in their deck. And passing early in turn one doesn't give them that opportunity. And then on turn two, you play Ocvist, who then has 5 health, so can't be immediately removed by a Mardrum, which is the most commonly run removal spell right now. And then you use your Mardrums and your Shieldsmiths to buff up Ocvist, to put him out of reach of most of your opponent's spells. You keep riding the Ocvist train, getting him back into your hand every 4 turns, as well as using his synergy, dealing 1 damage to every minion, to every unit on your opponent's board, with Harald's pretty strong passive right here. Can we check that? Can we please check this? This is a little odd. I thought I had Harald here. Anyway, Harald deals increased damage to damage the opponent's minions, so that is really strong, as well as the general tendency of Northern Realms and Skellige decks to flood the board with a lot of minions, so Harald can really wreck them there. And beyond that, we focus on stacking units in the siege row with the longships, with resurrecting the longships, of course, so we can also add some base strength to the longships if something goes wrong and we don't find Ocvist, or they happen to kill him still. We're running a small weather package with Coral, with no Aromancy, but we're using a Bronze Fog here, just to have 2 weathers in the deck available to use with Geralt Ard here. And yeah, it has been reasonably good for me so far, but we'll go head into the ladder and see if it works. So let's go. I'm excited to try it out. Of course, at this rank, we might run into a couple of oddball decks still. And against, for example, Monster, this deck is actually kind of bad. Against decks, not really sure, to be honest. Maybe it's bad against Dwarves. I can't really tell. Actually, the weather beats Dwarves, so that's good. We should be pretty well positioned, I think. As long as we play it correctly, and that is something I am kind of worried about, because this deck is a really peculiar one. Why are we not finding a match here? That is curious. Shall we stop searching and try again? Thank you. So excited to try that, and let's see what our first opponent is running, because it is a counter-meta deck. It largely works against Northern Realms, and it is increasing in popularity rapidly, so you might run into mirror matches more often than you'd like. We did draw Ocvist, so that's nice. We have both of our spies, so this should be an excellent example. Don't think we need both light longships, and the fog is also terrible. Coral's not great, so we might throw her away, actually. Longships are good, Skulls are good. I would actually like to find a Mardrum, I was going to say. As well as either a Restore or a Sigdrifa, I think. So actually let's throw away the Longship and see what we can do here. So probably starting out with a Spy here. Okay, our opponent running the classic Pirates, which we are not running in this deck, which may look a little strange at first, but I assure you it actually works quite nicely. So we definitely want to dump the longship in the graveyard, and we really don't care about the fog, so let's take the martyrdom here. Also helps us potentially get rid of an opponent's Ocvist. I'm not really sure what to expect. But we are going to play the second spy here. Actually, we could have used the fog to win the first round. I don't think ever winning the first round is going to do us any favors. So let's check the graveyard for what Donar discarded. That's usually quite important to check. He decoyed our spy, but that's okay. We're still passing with 2 cards advantage, so I'm perfectly okay with this. He does have Donar in hand, so let's keep that in mind. But then we can decoy Donar back and then play it back on his side of the board, or he just gives us Donar strength, which is reasonable. So let's see how this turns out. I really like the clear skies here, but because one thing Ocvist is weak in is your opponent running weather, and we might just get the spies bounced right back at us. But we do plan on riding Ocvist at least this round, I think, although I'm a little scared of an early pass of our opponent here. I'm not sure whether... Well, at least we can bounce a Donar, and then, yeah, that's probably fine. We have a decoy for his Donar, so we can ride Ocvist at least once in this round, I think. So let's decoy Donar back to basically disincentivize our opponent from passing here. Another Donar, alright, well, we're playing spy games here. I'm expecting a pass from our opponent next turn, but that's actually probably fine. So let's use Donar here. Check our graveyard as usual. 2 longships, that's actually absolutely fine. He's rallying and resurrecting. Oh, he's running bears, that's interesting. So, gotta be careful of him resurrecting a bear onto a board of wounded units on our side. That is pretty important to keep in mind. It is good for us that our opponent is actually still playing cards, so that's reasonably important. We could use the Carl here, but we actually want our opponent to keep playing this round, I think. Or maybe not. If we Ocvist here, that's actually fine. And if he wants to clear the weather, that's also fine with me, I think. This just basically forces the round to end, and then... or do we just want to buff Ocvist a little bit? Don't mind that too much either. Just a little resilience. He's running some strange cards, which makes me a little nervous, I will admit. Let's go with the weather here, see if he wants to clear, otherwise he loses his entire board. And that's perfectly okay with me. So this is a perfect time to pass, because we are 2 cards up. Pretty important. 2 cards up, and going into the final games with a decently filled graveyard, as well as an Ocvist in hand to enhance the round even more for us. Is his deck literally empty? Wow. That is actually kind of surprising, but he did play 1 more spy than we did, and he played a Last Wish, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Wow, I'm actually amazed. But let's keep in mind that our opponent has the bear in his graveyard. That is pretty important. Where is it? Yeah, it's called bear. 2 strength for each weakened opponent unit. So that's important to keep in mind. So if he starts wounding our board, then we may want to patch that up with a Scald. He's using Aromancy here. Does that mean he has a way to get rid of Ocvist? I'm not really sure. I would like to see that, but let's first martyrdom and see if he has any follow-up. This doesn't hurt at all, because if we clear the weather, then Ocvist will regain all of his lost strength, so that's fine. He can deal 3 damage to it with Harald's ability, but that's also okay. Playing Longships here is fine, playing Priestess on Longship is fine, playing Sig is, however, not, because we can't get her back. So I guess we're actually just playing Longship and riding it out here. I would like to play Hjalmar before Ocvist triggers. That's something to consider here. So that would have to be now. Just to get some damage onto the Lord of Untvik here. Because if we can get Ocvist to trigger twice on that thing, or we play a Marjoram on it, of course.
Bow before modern Freya.
But if we can just get Ocvist to trigger twice on that, then we can finish him off with Hjalmar, is what I'm trying to say. Killing the priestess, that might actually be a bad thing. How did that priestess get hurt, by the way? I'm actually kind of confused. Oh, it was played into the weather, of course, that makes sense. That is not necessarily a good thing, by the way. So we may just want to clear the weather here first, and then play Ocvist again, because I'm kind of thinking that he's willing to Herald to clear. Actually, if he heralds here to clear Ocvist, we can just reanimate Ocvist and everything will be fine, except for the fact that we're not reanimating long ships, which kind of sucks. So let's clear the weather here. See if he has more. If he has more, then I'm perfectly willing to play Ocvist into the weather and then resurrect him later. That's probably fine. Also, actually, I could have considered letting him play some more. Actually, he's not going to reanimate any pirates, I think. That is probably not a thing that's going to happen. So that's not something we need to be terribly worried about. It is. Huh? Is he going to play more weather here? Because the bear still worries me. That could be a really big thing. Alright, there's more weather coming up, but we can actually just buff up Ocvist again and it'll be fine. Do we want to use an armor smith here? No, we don't, because we want to make him use his herald ability with as few units on the field as possible. So let's mutagen on Ocvist again, just to make sure he doesn't die to herald here. This is a little annoying, because we'll have to play a lot of units into the weather. Oh, I'm not really sure about that. I guess it might actually be worth it to play... Or we can just wreck his board right now, but then he wrecks our Ocvist. Is that worth it? We can still revive Sig into the weather. I don't like it. This is actually kind of a rough spot, but his board will still be here for us to clear, right? Yes, it will. So that is fine. His board will still be there. I'm giving him a little bit of value, but I think preserving the Ocvist here is important enough, and the shieldsmiths are never going to be that great. So reanimating the bear here, I guess. Reanimating Sigdriva into bear. This is actually really curious. I'm wondering whether we can still win this. Oh my gosh, that thing is huge. Yeah, maybe we should have used heralds, but if we can get one more tick onto his board, then we can actually clear a lot of units there. So this might be fine. I'm not really sure. This is probably not fine, because we have to play a lot of units into the weather. But let's start resurrecting, I guess. Actually, we don't want to give him too much herald value, so how about we just use our herald right now? Doesn't really matter for Ocvist value coming up. We do have the buff on Hjalmar right now, so it all depends on how much he still has in hand. He has to use a Scald here if he wants to get any value out of that. And he's giving up. Alright, I'm not really sure we won that one, but good game regardless. Good game regardless. We probably were a little too trigger happy on the clear skies, because, well, playing everything into a weathered siege row is still a pretty rough deal. It's hard to gain enough strength. Perhaps he was putting us on a Commander's Horn in hand, and that could be a thing, I guess. We do have Commander's Horn in our deck, and if we had it, then we would have been in a pretty good spot. But with our hand being as it is, I wasn't sure whether we were going to win this one. So if we had kept the Bronze Fog, then we would have been in an excellent position because we could just push the bear into the fog with Geralt Ard, and it would be no problem. But since we didn't have it, he was actually in a pretty good position. That bear did some work. I'm actually really scared of that thing. Can we get a match by now? Why is matchmaking taking so long right now? I really don't know. Let's go and try again, shall we? I may have to start cutting the loading times out, and I'm just trying to cover it with talking about the last game, but if matchmaking is taking this long regularly, then we may actually have to do some cutting. Alright, for now it's fine, but I will strongly consider that for the future. And another mirror match. That is interesting. So what are we expecting? Yes, this is not the same guy, is it? I don't think it's the same guy. So let's see how the deck performs if we do not have Ocvist right away. Throw away the Fog, throw away a Mardrum, throw away a Clear Skies, I think. I think those are the poorest cards in our hand right now. So this is the part where I'm actually kind of unsure about. Because if you don't have Ocvist, then is it still worth it to go completely ham on the spies in the first turns? I guess giving up the first turn could still be okay. It's a little risky, to be completely honest. Let's play a Longship, see what our opponent's up to, basically. If he plays a spy, then I'm perfectly fine with playing a spy myself, even though mine can actually get decoyed. But that's a risk we're gonna have to take, I'm afraid. Discarded Ocvist, okay. That is interesting. So we might have to resurrect Ocvist next turn, but that's probably fine. Do we actually want to fight for this round? I think this round is worth fighting for. And that's mostly because we're rather even on cards right now. Passing now only gives us a single card of card advantage, and I don't think that's enough to give it up for. Let's think. We only have one card in our graveyard, so that is definitely not enough to risk a first light for. So we don't want to use those. Using a Mardrum on a ship is a little risky. Maybe we actually just weather in here. We can at least push. We can push two things. This is actually fine. We can push two things into the rain, and that is a good enough deal that I'm willing to take it. He decoys that one, and this might be a decent moment to pass, because he might give us Donar. That's probably fine. And then he's in a position where he wants to run. Oh, actually, if we pass, then we have to win the next round. So if we play Ocvist, we might go even further into card disadvantage. I don't like that. I don't like going into card disadvantage that much. So how about we just play another Longship here? I'm not really sure how to handle this, to be honest with you. But if we win this round, then we can just ride out the Ocvist next turn, and that's probably going to give us enough card advantage to catch up again. So that's probably fine. Anything we are willing to play here? We could play a Mardrum on a Longship. I think I'm okay with that. We have no way to protect Ocvist next turn, but that's probably fine-ish. We're likely to draw at least a Mardrum or... oh my gosh. All the spies right now. Well, this is definitely a pass then. Not looking too good for us next turn, but he does have to invest a lot if he wants to win right now. So that's kind of okay, and he has to win the next round. So we can pretty much just sit on Ocvist and play him like 2 times this turn even. Would have liked to see some minions here, though. That is going to be rather awkward. It's actually going to be so awkward that I'm going to ship the turn back to him, I think. Because this is doing absolutely nothing. Can we check his graveyard? Because he did mill a couple of random... Oh my, that is a blue boy. Interesting. He's milled a lot of decent cards, surprisingly. How do I feel about that? Yeah, actually this is not a round I want to fight for. We could go with the Ocvist, but I don't have a lot of... Actually I do have some decent plays with the First Light, right? Yeah, it's actually fine. So let's go for Ocvist here. With the First Light, I'm reasonably confident that we can ride him at least once, and that is good enough for this round. We can play 3 more cards this turn. That gives us Ocvist back, and then we can pass and go on towards the next round. That is probably fine, and we're making him commit some resources, and that's good. So, do we wish to First Light right now? Priestesses are likely, and that is pretty good. We do want to filter at least a little bit, so I think First Light is going to happen. And then we can consider using Hjalmar next turn. Do we want to do that? I think that's only worth it if we want to go completely ham on this round. Oh boy, are you not worried about us having Eithné? This would be a pretty good Eithné here. Could use the Fog. Basically just to stall a turn. I'm not sure I like that too much. How about the Scald? How do I feel about the Scald? Or would I rather play Hjalmar here? That's an interesting question. We can actually push... We can push the Lord of Unvik into the Fog, but that could also be a good play for next turn. So we might actually just want to save that. In that case, we're playing the Scald. He might weather us here, but that's kind of okay, because we can clear. So it's a bit of a shame of the Scald, but I think it's okay. We do need to clear this weather. Otherwise he kills our board and we'll be sad. Yes, even if we Commander's Horn here. So that is fine, that is fine. We clear skies here. Now Harald kills basically nothing, so that's okay. He has to commit more stuff onto the board. And we get Ocvist back. Alright, is it time to pass? Or do we wish to commit more to this round? We have no guarantee of actually drawing our medics next turn, so we might actually want to ride Ocvist another time this round, making commit another card. We are still 1 card behind, so that's probably good. We play a card, he plays a card. If we ride Ocvist one more time, then that's going to be okay, I think. Alright, let's try that. I'm not sure if I'm right here. I will definitely not claim to be right. But since we have the Commander's Horn, I think we can at least make a case for ourselves this turn. So that's good. Let's go with the Lord of Unvik and see if he has any melee row candidates. I don't think he does. Except if he wants the blue boy, but that seems like a stretch. So Spores on... Oh, actually Mutagen on the Lord of Unvik, that's probably fine. Let's see if he has an Impenetrable Fog. Is that good enough? We could gain 10 from Harald, 6 from Eithné. Is that even worth going for? We could actually just push him now, and then Ocvist plus Harald would finish him off. I think I like that better, but the Fog is the weakest card in our hand right now. So we should probably actually try this. See if he has a Clear Skies right now. If he doesn't, then we get to push, and that's pretty good. Oh, actually I didn't even count the minus from the Lord of Unvik here. So is this worth going for? How much can we get from Harald after Ocvist? He plays 1 more card. Then we Harald after Ocvist. That doesn't really do anything, because the Scald just buffed his entire board. If we pass here, then he passes, then we don't get Ocvist. That's terrible. So we may actually want to push. That's going to be a difference of 16 and 9, that's 25. 25 difference does make a decent case for ourselves, so this is probably worth it still. We can actually win with him one card, so he has to play another one. Which is probably fine. I'm not terribly enthused about how this game is going, but he did draw one more spy than we did, and he managed to decoy our spy, so that is 3-card advantage for him. We really need to make this Ocvist work for us if we want to win this round. Do we care about getting one more card out of his hand? We actually kind of do. And the Commander's Horn is not going to be good at all next turn, so we probably just want to play it. We're not going to get too much worth out of Ocvist next turn, unfortunately, but this at least forces him to commit something meaningful.
Let's get this over with.
That is something meaningful, I guess, but the same applies for the Commander's Horn as it does to... Actually, we can Herald here. He has 8, 12, no, 10 minions on the board. That means Herald is 20, 21. And then he can Herald us back for 20. But the Herald doesn't really do anything next turn. I can't get an Ocvist trigger next turn because we only draw one card, so there's not enough turns for that. I think making him use the Herald or the other card in his hand is important enough. My Herald is a lot better than his. And if he Heralds here... Does Ocvist do the trick? I don't know whether Ocvist does the trick. No, it does not. Just barely, though. Alright, so this is the time we pass. And then... yeah, playing Ocvist again wouldn't have done anything. This is awkward. But I do think we got a worse draw than him, so I'm not terribly upset about losing this game. We could still win with the right top deck. I'm not sure that it is the right top deck, and I'm pretty sure he has a decent card in hand. Alright, so we can't win this one anymore. He did get 3-card advantage up on us, we only got 2 back from Ocvist, so I think that's where the problem lied. Would be nice if we could get a different matchup than the mirror, though. Well, not the exact mirror, of course, because those were 2 Herald decks with quite some different tech inclusions. But it would be nice to actually face into a Northern Realms opponent or even a Skellige one. Because, well, not really any deck is really made to shine in the mirror. That's what I'm trying to say. But I think we did decently well in those games. We had the Mulligan Heart for Ocvist, we didn't get our spies, we didn't get our decoy. And against Skellige we should be favored if we play correctly, and that is a big assumption to make about yourself, of course. So let's not have too high of an expectation here. That's not really how language works, but you catch my drift, right? Got two spies at the very least, so that's good. The Mardrum I don't think we really need here. And I don't really need the second Shieldsmith. Alright, I think we can still go for the spy game in the first turn, or we just... No, if we have the spies we should play them.
So be it.
So let's at the very least play Berna. Is Coral good against Skellige? I don't think so, because they can just play into the melee row. But if they play into the melee row, we could theoretically art them. And grabbing the Priestess or the Skald here is not too impressive, so let's just grab Coral and see how it goes from there. They can't decoy this, so they have to commit something onto the board at least. And they have to keep in mind that we could have Ocvist in hand, so that's good. Playing a trap, that's an interesting one. I am not sure what that trap does here, but I'll happily play another spy. And should they decoy it, I guess so be it. Alright, they pass, we pass. And they lost Schirrú, so that's good. They did win the round, but we were planning on giving them the round anyway, so we didn't really lose anything. So I guess I'm pretty happy with this, except for the fact that we still don't have Ocvist yet. But let's see how the deck performs without him, right? Opponent plays first. I'm curious about the impenetrable fog. Oh, well, that's a curious thing. I'm not really sure that's right, because I don't really mind getting something into my graveyard here, I think. How about a second longship, or perhaps we would prefer... Actually, we could first light to get something out of our deck and make our top deck a little better. Don't hate that. How are we doing on cards? Not amazingly. I actually kind of like first lighting here, although that does leave us defenseless against a possible aeromancy. Not sure I'm too scared of that. Alright, let's try it. Rallying a longship, alright. So we are stocked in the graveyard department. Equal on card advantage, and we're playing Skellige, so we should be favored in the late game, especially when we start playing a lot of cards over and forth. So let's start with the longship, so we have something to buff on the field, as well as being careful about a possible Milva play. That's why you want to start out with a non-gold unit, I'm pretty sure. Commander's Horn right off the bat, that's really good for us. Because it also means that they can't really commando that mercenary. Does make it so we can't martyr it, but that's probably worth it for us. Let's buff up this longship slightly before we reanimate another one. Just to be careful of the possibility of being ignited.
Storm is coming. Let's enjoy the weather while we still can.
And we could theoretically kill that mercenary, but I'm not incredibly worried about that right now. We want to save Decoy until he spies us, right? We're not getting Ocvist value here, but Decoy still gives us some amount of card advantage, so that's good. Curious inclusions. This is at least not a stock net deck, and I shouldn't be too critical of that, but can we check his graveyard, see if there's anything peculiar? It's just the first light and the Ulcer's Thunder, I guess. Our graveyard gives us longships most of all, and I would like to reanimate one of those, so let's go and get started with that. Or should we start with Sig? Actually, there's a decent chance that Sig might be killed, so let's go start with her, because she does, well, most of all because she does reanimate a priestess, but she does start growing over the round, which makes her a decent threat. Also, somewhat of a possibility of getting blown out, which worries me. But we should be okay here. We can, if we are scared about fireball traps here, we could... maybe we shouldn't have played the longship at first. But we still have two creatures at the very least to play around fireball traps, so that's reasonably okay. We have the Scald, and we have the Restore, which can fetch a longship in a pinch, or just another Scald, which is fine. I do want to check, but perhaps not immediately. Could actually buff something. The Fog is going to be good here, so I like that. Could bounce a Priestess to be... No, I probably shouldn't. Let's go check for Fireball Traps here. It is not, so I'm expecting it to reveal at this point. Which means that either the Fog or the Coral will be pretty effective.
Awaits us all.
So that's good.
Everything all right?
Mercenary bounced again. Scorch turns into Scorch. Alright, I'm pretty happy I didn't check with the Restore. I was pretty convinced that was a Jeruvial, so I would have fallen for that head first. But this is a great time to just reanimate another longship, so how about that? Let's be really wary of the possibility of getting Ignite as soon as we reanimate our last longship. That is really troublesome. Scorch again. Alright, well that's the Nature's Gift gone at least. And we should still be fine in the card advantage department, I think. I'm not really sure. Can they still? They can still Scorch again with Eithné, so we should be scared of that. In that case, I probably want to, for example, buff one of my current creatures. Or just reanimate another longship, but that would bring Sigdrifa up to the same level, so that's probably bad. The biggest longship is the one in the graveyard, so that's a little unfortunate. Am I overanalyzing this? I probably am. But I would like to be reasonably cautious here. Let's mutagen on the Skald here, because that's not an awful decoy target. As well as a resurrection target, which is nice. Is that by any chance the last first light in their deck? That does appear to be the case, I think. No, it's not. There's still one more. Alright. So the Dragoon buffed something in their hand. That is something to be wary of, I guess. We don't want to Commander's Horn until we've seen some weather, because we can reasonably expect that to happen. I guess we could try and fish out the last first light, and perhaps even the Aglace. Oh, but she has two more with the Eithné on Aglace. I guess we have to try somehow at some point, so might as well do it now, right? It's gonna happen someday, so we might as well check if they have another first light in hand, and otherwise force out the Eithné, which is also decent.
Everything all right?
Mercenary and two mutagen. Do they want to kill something of ours, or do... I guess they do. Spores on Sigdrifa. That does mean we cannot revive her anymore, because she has 0 base strength right now, so we should be careful of that. We can safely reanimate another longship, although a Skald might currently be better. But I kinda want to get another longship just because of the chance of what am I scared of? Scared of weather, most of all. We could Commander's Horn to check for weather. Not really sure about that. We could actually Herald here and just wipe everything off the board, which I don't hate. Really diminishes the value of Clear Skies. So I think I like this. Even though it looks a little unimpressive, we are still removing a lot of strength off the board, plus the possibility of her losing Clear Skies to get back a lot of strength. So there's the Aromancy. Alright, we don't have a Clear Skies anymore, and this did reduce our strength by quite a lot. But we can reanimate a Skald to clear most of this up, and actually a Skald and a longship, how about that? That's probably okay. We can bounce this Skald and play it again. I think I like that over reanimating one, just because of how that interaction works. So another Madram on the Mercenary. I don't think she has any reasonable chance anymore, but I could be wrong about this. Let's first buff up the roll. Actually, let's reanimate a longship first. How about that?
Patient, but she brooks no insult.
Go with an additional longship, which should be safe from the weather, which is good. Also buffs up Sigdrifa, which is nice. Then use the Skald to gain some value, and then probably just Commander's Horn to seal the deal before she lacerates us or something. There's the Eithné, so that's good. Eithné on Scorch, perhaps. Eithné on Scorch, and then she can Scorch again afterwards. We might actually force her to do that first before we reanimate anything. This fog is probably going to be awful, so let's do that now. And if we restore a longship, that should be fine, right? So shoot something with the Yorvath. Are you really that worried about Sig? That's fine. And that's going to be either 6 damage or a Scourge. We better reanimate first, actually, because we'll lose 9, or we'll lose. Yeah, we would rather lose something big. So I guess we should just. I guess we should just get as many bodies on the field as possible. As long as we reanimate a longship in the end, then it's gonna be fine, right? I'm actually really curious about what the best approach here is. And we might still lose. This is curious. As long as we reanimate... Oh, we don't have any medics in the graveyard. Well, that's awkward. I guess in that case we Shieldsmith here, which is really odd, but I think is correct right now. Because the Scourge only gives 5 value right now, so the best use is Yorvath. And then we double up. Is that enough? I don't know. She can get 6. Well, she can reduce our strength by 6.
Have no place in Broccolon.
Or am I missing something?
Not yet recovered.
Am I missing something? She can Scorch, or perhaps she first lights. Oh, that's... Alright, yeah, that works. That works. Well played. Wow. Was not expecting that. So I should definitely have gone for a longship there. Just because of the possibility of that happening. Wow. I was not expecting to lose that game that hard. But I guess that's what happens when you don't draw Ocvist or something. I'm not really sure how other people do that. But also we can blame that on horrible misplays. But that's Schirrú. Oh my, that's Schirrú. That was a possible 4 Scorches that game. I guess that's a good tech inclusion against Skellige or something. I'm really curious. Anyway, let's give it one more game, shall we? Because I would like to end on a high note and perhaps have the chance of facing a Northern Realms opponent in on the ladder. Yeah, so ending on a high note would be nice. Facing Northern Realms would be my preferred opponent here, but I will also take another Skellige. That would be fine, as long as it's not a mirror match, because we've fought enough mirror matches by now. Oh, I did still have some coffee, but it's really cold by now. Alright, let's see it. Ooh, monsters. That is probably bad. That is probably bad for us. We should probably assume this is some kind of absorb build. Hence... Well, we do have Ocvist plus Burna, so that's nice. I think I'm holding on to Weather just because there's a very decent chance of them being an absorb deck. What do we throw away, though? I'm liking most cards in this hand a lot. We could mulligan a First Light if we assume he's absorb, but we can't. Yeah, I guess we can assume he's absorb, so that's fine. Scald. I do like Scald, but it's probably a little early for that. And Fog is probably horrible, so I don't want that. Yes, I do like the second longship, sure. I'll take that. So, so against monsters, the first turn early pass is probably the worst among all factions, because monsters benefit the least from the deck thinning. So they don't really build their deck with the thinning in mind. So in that way it's kind of a problem. We do still want to wait with the Ocvist until round 2, I'm pretty sure.
So be it.
So let's go for Burna here. Throw away the Fog and the Mardrum, I like that. I would like for my cards to have some effect. Actually, dumping a longship is not awful here. I'm taking the Mardrum just to be able to buff my Ocvist next turn. Early pass from our opponents. We don't have the means to get rid of Eredin here. And catching up on card advantage here would mean we'd have to... What would we have to do? We would have to play 3 cards to win this round. That doesn't seem remotely worth it to me. So let's actually not pass here and see what happens next turn. That is probably a good move from our opponent here, because he gets to keep his Aerodin, and he invested basically nothing that turn. Drawing a Spy here, not really that meaningful, because we're going to lay Weather over it anyway, so that's fine-ish. Ooh, the Grave Robbers. Well, this is a really bad matchup for us. It is actually quite incredible. Let's write the Ocvist over here and see what we can do about that. This is pretty much the worst matchup imaginable. So I should have definitely seen that coming. I don't think this is a matchup you can expect to win easily. I'll play this after he passes, I think. We don't have Art, which could have been really good. If he passes next turn, then we could have Oraled and Arted him. So that would have been really nice. But let's go for Longships right now, just to get enough strength after Ocvist leaves the field. Passes now. So I'm actually thinking I'm playing Donar here and probably overcommitting a bit this round. If I... Alright, it's only good if I draw into Art, really. So I need 22 plus 6. Actually, 22 plus 3. I need 25 strength on the board when Ocvist leaves. So I can do that with double Longship and Scald. That equals 20. That equals 25. This is horrible. I think I may have to commit 4 cards, so I may as well just check Donar first. Not the card we wanted to see. But we have a Scald in the graveyard, so we can reanimate that with the Priestess and get a decent amount of value on the field. Priestess plus Scald means we have 5 and 4, that's 9. But we also need to compensate for the Donar, which is quite awful. This is not good. This is not good. If we Coral's a 14 right now. Probably worth committing. Let's hope he doesn't have Foglet, because we have no idea what his deck is running. Okay, so Coral's fine. Kills the Donar, which is okay, and now we still need to have 12 additional strength on the board. We can't do that with just a Priestess, so we probably have to commit another card. This is really bad. Can we reanimate a Scald? If we restore it, that's only going to be 7, 7 and 2, that's not enough. There's no way for us to kill Ciri as far as I know. So I guess we would just Longship. And I guess Scald or something? Maybe we want to reanimate the Scald, actually. That's probably okay. So, in that case, first light. Not too worried about weather from our opponent, which is the reason I'm doing this instead of actually playing a card from our hand. And then we reanimate the Scald and we're caught up to our opponent. Yeah, this is sad but true.
But she brooks no
This is a really, really sad state of affairs, but at least we can ride Ocvist next turn and hopefully get some of our card advantage back. I don't like how this is going, but Monsters is really, really bad for us. I can't stress that enough. And our opponent keeping an 11 strength unit on the field is also not ideal, to say the least. But let's go Ocvist, or do we desperately need to reanimate something first? I don't think so. We don't have a Sigriva in the graveyard, so I guess it's kind of okay if he gets a Priestess. Does he have anything in his? He does. And if he reanimates Aerodin, that's also really bad for us. So maybe we just Sigriva first to get the Cleric out of the graveyard. I think that's a valid plan. Because I'm really expecting Caretaker at this point. So I want to get that out of there, and I want to get the improved Longship out of there. I think that's reasonably important. and we should absolutely make sure to do that first. If he has any removal for the Sigriva, then that's a sad state of things, but him being able to... Actually, if he priestesses, he can't reanimate anything, so I shouldn't have been so afraid of that, but he would have been able to resurrect our 11th strength longship, which is still a pretty big tempo swing. So that's something we would like to avoid, and now we can still get 2 uses out of Ocvist, I think, so that's probably fine. Wyvern deals 4 damage. I'm kind of feeling a lacerate incoming. So I think I'm actually going to play the Scald here. Yeah, this reeks of lacerate. So let's play Scald, which also incidentally protects Ocvist from... does expose him to Eithné, I guess, which is kind of bad. But there's not really a way to protect him from Eithné, I think, so... This is probably okay. We can buff him up right now to put him out of lacerate range, and that should ensure that we're getting him back. But I could be wrong, of course. I could be wrong. We can reanimate him to at least cycle him once more, and that's going to be the plan, I'm afraid. How big is Ocvist right now? He can be Ignite, but we cannot really prevent that. So we restore him. We don't have any other clerics in the graveyard, unfortunately. But I guess only Sigriva would qualify for that, so that's probably fine. So this deck has some troubles against decks that are not flooding the board during round 2 and 3. That do not rely on flooding the board as much as some of the other decks on the ladder. And the metagame is adapting rather rapidly, so don't expect to get too many free wins out of this. How is he 3 cards up on us? This is kind of incredible. Well, I guess we still have Decoy, and we did commit hard the last turn. We did have to start this round. It's not looking good for us, but if we can at least get Ocvist back once this round, then I'm feeling pretty reasonable about myself. And a good Commander's Horn can still win the game for us, so let's not get caught up in negativity right now. Do we bounce the Scald, actually? I think we bounce the Scald. That seems okay. I'm kind of scared of Eithné right now, but I could be worrying about nothing. Is that the kind of deck that runs Weather? I don't think we have even a slight chance if that deck runs Weather. So we probably shouldn't worry too much about that. Let's go with the rally. And what would we like to buff? Probably if he has Eithné, we can't win, so that doesn't matter. Buffing the longship probably the best idea. Yeah, and if we're decoying anything, it's probably the Scald anyway, so that's probably fine. We knew that card was coming. So let's take back the Scald here. And then get as big a Commander's Horn as we can possibly get. And that's gonna be the best approach we have to win this game. Griffin, so Weather wasn't going to do anything for us anyway. That's a good thing. And now Ocvist triggers, and we should get a decent-ish Herald onto his board. Can we still Ocvist again? I don't think we can. Wait, we play 3 cards, we get Ocvist back. Yes, we actually can. Which gives us the last play. Even though that last play is just playing Ocvist again, though. So that's perhaps not ideal. But we'll take whatever we can get. We'll take whatever we can get, no problem. So Scald again, that is actually a nice score in the siege row here. And him not having all three hags in one play is also quite meaningful. So do we Commander's Horn or do we Herald here? Well, our Commander's Horn is never getting any better than this. And our Herald might, so that's a thing. And we are pretty much playing with our hands open right now. So does he have any weather? I don't expect him to, because that deck doesn't look like it's very weather friendly, and we did win that one, so alright. Good game, sir. I wasn't sure whether we were going to win. I was really scared of Caretaker at that point, but we did manage to eke it out with the Commander's Horn, so that's good. In each case, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the deck. Hope you enjoyed the look at how the Ocvist deck on ladder works. I certainly did. I'm having a lot of fun with the deck, even though I'm not quite sure what the best way to play it is. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.